Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Gyro. So we are at the end of Sentinel League in Path of Exile, which I am very excited about because Sentinel League was not bad, but at the same time became stale for me personally quite quickly, and I sort of dozed off, as some of you have seen on my channel. Well, we are just about to get an announcement and proper preview of Lake of Kalandra, the next expansion for Path of Exile, or next league, whatever terminology you prefer. The announcement is happening in a week's time, but right now we have some character balance preview, patch notes if you like. Well, these are not really full patch notes, this is just a preview of what kind of balance changes are the developers from Grinding Gear Games are going to throw upon us. And this channel has never been, in case you're new here, has never been one of those min-max channels, or I have never pretended to be an expert who understands how every single skill works in the game and just basically lives in the game. I have a life, okay? So, but with that being said, this channel has attracted a lot of newbies of Path of Exile, people who are interested in accessibility of the game, in the basics of it, in how to get started in the game, what's important to them, that kind of stuff. And I'd like to continue maintaining this perspective going forward in this channel, whatever I post, whatever builds I post, whatever I talk about in this channel, on this channel. So with that in mind, I would like to talk to you today, go through this web page with you and scribble on it in an ugly way as I always do. Hopefully it will be at least entertaining for you. And talk about main things that are going to hit newbies, that are going to hit people who are relying in their builds and in their gameplay in general on basic concepts and on the core foundational concepts in Path of Exile. Things that affect most builds, things that affect things that affect builds that are very popular among newbies. The league starters, the basic builds, things that used to be cheap and easy, those kind of things. That they worry me because that's how I play. So these notes, in case you've never seen one, they go with them stating a problem that they are identifying, and then they're giving us a solution that they are going to propose going forward for now. So spell suppression. Remember that thing that reduces the spell damage and that is very, very desirable by a lot of characters? Well, they are saying that spell suppression, in terms of its placement when you're boosting yourself spell suppression, in terms of its placement on the passive skill tree in Path of Exile, it's kind of located towards the right-hand side of the passive skill tree. So they're saying that it's intended to be used mostly by characters and by classes that are also organically located closer to that part of the tree. Because you know how when you choose a character, you start in a certain part of the tree. It's kind of a start of your path, so to speak, in Path of Exile. And again, I'm talking to beginners here, complete beginners. Hopefully it's helpful. Well, they are going to reduce the values of spell suppression granted by item modifiers, right? Because anyone could get a ton of spell suppression from items. What they're trying to do is they're trying to give spell suppression to who they always intended to give it to those classes that can obtain spell suppression primarily from the passive skill tree investment. It is not a good thing generally for us as beginners and as casuals because we like different ways to boost our characters, and accessibility of spell suppression before made us stronger and more sturdy, cheaper. So I will draw an arrow here down indicating that in my humble opinion of a non-expert and not someone who lives at the top end of endgame, as hopefully you are not either, this is bad. This is not a good thing. And no, I'm not going to write it over every statement. I'm just going to draw arrows going forward. Does it make sense? That's how we're going to keep talking. Arctic armor is a niche defense mechanic, but they are indicating that it is, and by niche I mean we don't use it maybe that often, at least I don't, and new builds don't use Arctic armor all that often, but basically they're saying it's not granting enough power, so they're going to substantially increase the amount of damage reduction while stationary provided by Arctic armor. Okay, again, niche use, I would say I will take a closer look at this. Maybe it's worthy of implementing now this in some of the builds. My builds included as a defensive layer. We will see. Flesh and Stone is an aura, is a popular, or by popular I mean it's available to you quite early, and I was, as a noob, I was quite attracted to it because it's cool. It was basically allowing you to stay either in blood stance or in sand stance, and in sand stance it used to grant you quite a bit of defenses because the remote enemies were blinded and they couldn't hit you as well. Well, in this particular case, they are admitting that it's not powerful enough these days in the game after lots of different changes to warrant 25% mana reservation, and I agree. So they're going to increase the amount of damage reduction from distant enemies that Flesh and Stone provides while in Sand stance. That's a good thing, in my opinion. Oh god, defense banner, defense banner. It's a defense banner. It's a defiance banner. Defiance banner is a fantastic thing to carry on your back in case you haven't played any of my builds or something. It's pretty much every single build, 100% of them have a defiance banner in one shape or form, even wizards, even witches. Because it provides quite a substantial percentage increase to armor and evasion. Yeah, and armor and evasion that come from determination and grace auras primarily. Yeah, staples of any defensive thing. Yeah, so you are able to run determination, grace, defiance banner, and just with this trio of defensive layers, you are suddenly becoming a lot more sturdy. Okay, they are recognizing this and they're nerfing it. Fun detected, fun removed. Like grinding gear games, honestly, all this balancing, all this perfectionism in this particular case takes the fun and accessibility of the game away. That is my honest, humble opinion. So they're substantially, not even just reducing, substantially reducing the amount of armor and evasion granted by Defiance banner. There is no way to look at it other than a nerf that is unwelcome, especially unwelcome for any of the beginners of the game and people who rely on basic builds. This is 2 arrows down. This is bad. This is like, I know I said I'm not gonna scribble this anymore, but this is so bad that I am not a fan of this change whatsoever. Wind Dancer Keystone is a niche. I'm not going to particularly talk about it or about any other things that I don't believe are applicable directly to beginners of Path of Exile, but they are making some changes which sound vague to me. That's another reason why I'm not talking about it. They're gonna make it less risky for characters with large amounts of evasion to take. So they want more people to take it, basically, right? We will see. So in this particular case, when something is said that way, I'm not gonna waste your time. I don't know what this means. Yeah. Arrow Dancing Keystone is niche. We're not gonna even worry about this for now. They introduced Ward 1 or 2 expansions ago. It's a niche defensive mechanic. Even they say that it's a niche defensive mechanic. And that's why we're not going to talk about it. Ha ha. Ha ha. Okay. This is another. Do you know what Grasping Male modifier is? If you do, then you're an expert and you shouldn't be listening to me. But if you don't, you understand why I'm skipping this. Now, this is interesting, and that talks about Flesh and Stone as well as we talked about above. So they are recognizing that blind has become a bit meh. So passive skills in a passive skill tree that grant blind effect like protective mechanisms that we could rely on earlier. Now it's no longer kind of a bit of a go-to thing, is it? Well, they are increasing the values of blind effect found on the passive skill tree. Okay, remains to be seen, but we will see. Now, Mind Over Matter is something that allows your damage to be taken from mana before life, a part of this damage, yeah? So there are a lot of builds, especially witch builds, that rely on boosting your mana pools massively, right? So they think that it's in a bit of an underpowered state, as this says, and they are going to improve the base power of Mind Over Matter, yeah? And pull that power out of body armor mods. So they're going to give it to the actual keystone on the passive skill tree. I think overall, whatever this means, because they say it's a first step, who knows what the second step is, but I think overall it's a good thing for us. Now, fortification. Fortification is something, it's a buff that you obtain when in melee primarily. It's important, and it reduces the amount of damage taken. It's that thing that looks like this multifaceted star that starts rotating around you when you have that buff. Yes, you know what fortification is. Well, they are making fortification easier to gain and make it more longer lasting. That's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. Now, the crux of it, the main part of this video, and what prompted really the need to talk to you. Minion builds are very popular among beginners of Path of Exile and experts alike. Everyone likes minion builds because why? Well, first of all, they're fun. they offer you semi-passive gameplay, like you taking your dogs for a walk and they eat everything. I have a few builds myself. I have adapted a few builds from other people who are definitely experts and definitely know a lot more about this than I do, such as K Gaming. I am, however, always taking putting my own spin on the builds and trying to make them a lot more accessible, better explained for beginners, always with beginners in mind. And that's the premise of it. That's why I'm interested in this. Well, in essence, what they're saying here is that it's quite easy in the game right now to rely on the level of minion gems and support gems and basically obtain a lot of power by simply boosting your health and relying on higher level minion gems and proper setups rather than particular items. Yeah, so minion builds are fantastic because they give you quite a lot of power as a newbie. As long as you pick the right gems, you level them, and not being an idiot ultimately. But but at the end of the day, minion builds do not require massive investments into or massive grind to get the right items, very optimal items. Do you know what I'm saying? Well, the premise of it is that they think that there are limited options to invest in minion related stats on gear. I even partly agree with this. So I agree that there are limited options to boost your minions through items. You mostly rely on gems. But what they're doing is, so the good thing is that they are providing more ways for players to invest into minions by getting gear. And this remains to be seen. This is very much of a, I don't know how accessible those investments are going to be, so I don't know, right? But they are lowering minion life and damage. That is a very, 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 very unwelcome, bad thing for us, simple, average Jones and Janes, and I don't mean it in a bad sense of the word. I'm just saying we like it easy. I make no excuses for it. We like powerful, easy minion builds. We like them. And now they are doing this, which is a general nerf until you get this gear, whatever that is, until you compensate for this loss of minion base damage and life and basically make yourself viable again. That is not a very good thing. I will tell you straight away, my friends, I was going to start Lake of Kalandra as a SRS witch. I was going to be Summon Raging Spirits, minion-based build this league. That was going to be my first build, which is easy to do, cheap and cheerful, with some adjustments. I was about to start working on it in the Path of Building and start revealing to you what I'm planning to do as a league starter for this league. Well, this makes me worried. This makes me worried. I'm going to wait a few days now, a few more days, wait for the actual full patch notes to be released, which will give us a little more information. Certainly next week we're going to hear a lot more about this. Maybe they're adding something to the game that has not been listed here. But overall, this change, this announcement of what they're doing about minion builds and gems and stuff like this, nerfs, basically nerfs, put this plan into jeopardy. So for me, that's an arrow down. Let me know in the comments down below if it is for you. I'm not overreacting if you have paid attention. I am just stating the facts of how it looks to me currently. And this doesn't look too good, doesn't look too promising, personally. Let's keep reading. Well, some minion skills are clear outliers in terms of inherent power. So they become the default choice for many minion focus builds. Duh, yes, most of the builds, they rely on particular outliers, so to speak, and we build our characters around them. Well, they're going to reduce the power of this couple of overperforming skills. So which ones? And preemptively, I'm going to say that might be a very, very bad thing. Okay. Now, because minions are monsters, they inherit some stats from monsters that can significantly affect build choices and power. I suspect in this convoluted way, basically in this convoluted paragraph, and let me know please in the comments down below if you think that I'm misreading this, which is possible, yeah. I think that this refers to specters primarily, but not only, but specters specifically. We hunt for specific specters to inherit their monster powers, such as giving the power charges, giving the frenzy charges, right? So they are thinking that that's confusing, potentially confusing monster stats into minion and non-minion versions, so that minions can behave in the manner players would naturally expect. What the hell is this? Sounds like convolutedly bad, but I don't know again. I don't know. But this is not a good thing. It's not good news. It's not good news. Then there is something about minion critical strikes. I never invested too much into scaling minion build damage through critical strikes, but they are going to add more sources of minion critical strike investment. Potentially it's a good thing, but I don't know how it will affect me and my builds personally. Now this one is a big one and probably the last one that we're going to talk about, because miscellaneous skill and support gem balance, it probably is of little value right now going through this kind of stuff, so we're going to leave this for later. But this is the last one I'm going to talk about, this one. So Necromancer, Witch Ascendancy, Unnatural Strength, notable, is a very, very good passive skill that is extremely strong. I agree, it increases minion damage and other kind of stuff. It's fantastic for almost all minion builds due to how well the minions scale with gem level right now. Okay, fair enough. Well, they think that the problem really is this last statement. This skill makes it very hard to justify using other ascendancy classes for minion builds. In all honesty, who cares? Which Necromancer is intended to be a minion build, and I'm not saying it should be the only one, but it hardly is a problem. It hasn't been for years grinding games, but they are going to basically nerf unnatural strength to the ground to provide less universally applicable stat and allow more access to minion gem levels on items instead, as detailed above. So again, this is a nerf to the gem, and go look for the right gear, my friends. That's what they're saying. Go look for the right gear, and you cannot rely as much on minion gems and on other gem power, essentially, which is overall, I think, in spite of all this hyped up crowd that will defend grinding games no matter what they do ever, I don't think it's a good thing. And this is it. This is all I had for you today, my friends. Just a little video quickly going through these character balance notes from the developers of Path of Exile, and to talk to you about what it means to me as a person who always has been advocating for game accessibility, lacking game accessibility, and for people who are beginners of Path of Exile that need a bit of love. They definitely need a bit of love. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy some of this, if it sparked some trains of thought, please share them down below. Please subscribe for more videos, because obviously, with the start of the new league, I will come back to Path of Exile with some conversations about the builds that I'm going to be trying, with further thoughts on what the new league mechanic is like and what it means to us and how to best potentially level in it. Because I know a lot of you liked my leveling guides, not in terms of how detailed or pro they are, but in terms of their accessibility. And that is exactly the selling card for this channel. So, if I sold it to you, please don't be shy. Give me a like and subscribe for more. Thanks very much for tuning in today. Gyro out. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.
When I'm ready and not before.